Week 2 is in the books in college football. It was an interesting weekend for sure, and especially Saturday afternoon and Saturday night. We found out a few things about some of the contenders, in particular in the Big Ten, as most of the SEC and the ACC took the week off when it comes to quality competition. We invite your comments and questions here at the Voice of College Football. This is our late night live show. We come your way every Monday through Saturday at 10 p.m. Eastern Time or Postgame. I just posted Michigan, Oklahoma instant analysis. Check it out. We looked at Florida, of course, earlier today, losing to South Florida. That's the big news of the day in regards to upsets. No question about that. Billy Napier and the chants, fire Billy, fire Billy, fire Billy, are making their way through northern Florida, just like they were about this time last year in 2024 after they got stomped by Miami and Texas A&M. We will go through all the big events, the big games, and what it all meant, overreaction and otherwise. We are lining up the phone calls, but before we get to those, we want to remind everyone that the Amazon link's in the description section of this video, and this is the most important thing that I'm going to say all night, by far. The Amazon link's in the description section of this video and all the videos, and when you shop on Amazon, please use the link that we provide. It is the same exact shopping experience. There would be absolutely no reason, I believe, that if you enjoy what we do here at the Voice of College Football, that you would not use the Amazon link. It's the one way that you can contribute to the Voice of College Football without spending one red cent. All right, let's go through the scores first and foremost, as is customary. Before we get to the calls, leave those comments and questions, and you know the deal. I will be here for an hour solid. You got me for free for an hour. If you want me here for longer, then that is certainly up for grabs as well. All right, let's get to the scoreboard. Because I have been locked in on Oklahoma, Michigan, and I was also watching a thrilling game from Stark Vegas, as they call it. I've been to that stadium. Actually, I've been to Mississippi State's football stadium more than any other stadium in the country, without counting. Probably Mississippi State, number 1, Ole Miss, number 2, Alabama, number 3, and then Ohio Stadium would be number 4. Those would be the football stadiums that I've been to the most. And then probably the Georgia Dome. Anyway, I'm sure you guys care about that. Let's get to the scores. As they stand right now, in Columbia, South Carolina leads South Carolina State 38-3 in the fourth quarter. We've got UCLA coming back against UNLV. They were down by 20. It's now 30-23 in the fourth quarter, but there is only 37 seconds left, and the Rebels have the ball, so it looks like UCLA is going to drop to 0-2. New Mexico State leads at home against Tulsa 21-14. We've got UTEP on top of UT Martin 35-10. Arizona and Weber State are in a delay, as we saw across college football today. Washington State leads San Diego State 10-7, nearing halftime. They are in halftime at Provo. BYU 14, Stanford nothing. We've got Washington on top of UC Davis 21-3. Late night start in Hawaii with the Rainbow Warriors taking on Sam Houston. That is actually Steve Merrill's under the radar selection. Hint, hint. And I had a decent day. I believe, man, I was this close to having a great day. We will have to look at my prediction results. Ohio State all over Grambling, as expected, 70-0. That was my last question to the boys on the Ohio State show. Are the Buckeyes going to score 70, and how many times have they scored 70? It seems to be pretty reasonable that they would put up the 10-touchdown mark on this day. Penn State also threw a shutout, so the top 2 teams in college football pitched shutouts against bad teams, of course. 34-0 over FIU. LSU defeated Louisiana Tech in a yawner, 23-7. Georgia defeats Austin Peay 28-6. Well under the point spread there for the Bulldogs. Miami on top of Bethune-Cookman 45-3. So the highest ranked teams in the country basically got a week off, including Oregon unexpectedly, if we matched it up against previous Oklahoma State editions. But This proves positive. Despite my buddy Cody Stovall, who likes to come on the show and defend Oklahoma State football, my buddy Cody, Oklahoma State is just incredibly atrocious. Oregon wins 69-3. Texas over San Jose State 38-7. Clemson was down 16-0 against Troy. But Clemson scored the final 27 points to win by 11. Illinois over Duke after getting outplayed in the first half. Illinois looked mighty impressive in the second half. I watched that game start to finish. Check out the instant analysis, 45-19. This was a heck of a ball game. Mississippi State went on top 17-0. They had the momentum rolling, the home crowd, the cowbells, the whole deal. Arizona State came firing back in the fourth quarter and took a 20-17 lead. Actually, Mississippi State held them out of the end zone when it was 17-all. And that proved to be decisive because Arizona State had a 1st and goal at the 2 with about 90 seconds left in the game. Mississippi State, fortunately for my prediction, held them out of the end zone to force the field goal. It looked like Arizona State was going to win 20-17. And then Brennan Thompson, for a second time tonight, got free from 58 yards, I believe was the total yardage. Blake Shapen hit him in stride, and Mississippi State scored with 30 seconds left to pull off the game against Arizona State 24-20. There we see the shocker of the day, Florida. This is a game that I was not watching much of the first half, and then I started to get interested late first half. And I watched the rest of this game, posted instant analysis. Check it out. Florida loses at the gun against South Florida, and Martin Gramatica, or is that his uncle's name? Anyway, one of the kicking Gramaticas won this one at the wire over Florida 18-16, and that is a monumental loss for Billy Napier. Florida State over East Texas A&M 77-3. There's the aforementioned Oklahoma win over Michigan. We will break down Mateer and the Oklahoma defense over Underwood and the Michigan defense and running game. This was a sound Oklahoma win over Michigan. No, I'm not going to say it was a blowout in any sort of way. Michigan typically stayed within one score, but Oklahoma was by far the superior team on this night. Good game at noon, and as is usual in the Cy-Hawk rivalry, it came down to the wire, and it was low scoring. Iowa State won at the gun 16-13 over Iowa. Baylor came back from 2 touchdowns down in the final 5 minutes to defeat SMU in double overtime, 48-45, and a thriller right there. I did not see one play of that game, but I would love to go back and check out the highlights. Texas A&M over Utah State, 44-22. Ole Miss, shoot, why'd you give up a last-second field goal? I had Ole Miss covering 8.5 points. They gave up a field goal right at the end of the game because, of course, Kentucky was vying for the onside kick to try to score and tie the game. Rebels still win it 30-23 to avenge the loss from last season. Bama back on track, at least against horrible competition, 73-0 against Louisiana Monroe. Tennessee played nobody. East Tennessee State, 72-17. Indiana played no one. They defeated Kennesaw State 56-9. I was informed by our Indiana host, Alec Kieser, that he would like to come on the show Monday and defend Indiana's schedule. That should be fun. Texas Tech all over Kent State, my alma mater. Yeah, they're on the shelf, 62-14. Utah defeats Cal Poly 63-9. Minnesota all over Northwestern State. That's 66-0. Had to correct my friend who texted me that Minnesota was defeating Northwestern 59-0 at half. I said, well, it's Northwestern State. Really good ball game. I checked out some of this one. Virginia, NC State, and the Wolfpack came back in the fourth quarter. They were down by 10 to win in 35-31. Pitt over Central Michigan, 45-17. Syracuse came back to beat UConn 27-20 in overtime. Jacksonville State over Liberty, 34-24. Howard and Temple, Owls win at 55-7. Now, for their reward, they get to tackle Oklahoma. New Mexico defeats Idaho State 32-22. Kansas and Mizzou, this was a really good ball game. Kansas actually led 31-28 with about 4 minutes left. And to my chagrin, they gave up 2 touchdowns to not cover the spread, or cover the spread on the Missouri side, 42-31. Key win for the SEC right there. Over the Big 12, we've got Oregon State and Fresno. Fresno wins at 36-27 in Corvallis. Georgia Tech disposes of Gardner-Webb 59-12. Cincy over Bowling Green 34-20. Colorado 31-7 over Delaware. App State defeated Linderwood 20-13. Texas State and UTSA. Texas State wins at the Bobcats 43-36. Navy on top of UAB 38-24. Final there. Overtime. North Texas defeats Western Michigan 33-30. Buffalo over St. Francis 45-6. Middle Tennessee at Wisconsin. Badgers win at 42-10. Something that shouldn't happen, but happens to the Big 12 here. West Virginia goes to Ohio and they lose in Athens 17-10. Wyoming 31 and Northern Iowa 7. Western Carolina at Wake Forest, they lose 42-10. We've got Rutgers over Miami of Ohio 45-17. Arkansas all over Arkansas State 56-14. Nevada defeats Sacramento State 20-17. Southern Miss a winner over Jackson State 38-20. Bryant and UMass 27-26 a winner there. UMass has Iowa next week. Cal defeats Texas Southern 35-3. Marshall loses at home against Missouri State 21-20. Old Dominion all over North Carolina Central 54-6. Campbell and East Carolina Pirates win at 56-3. FAU over Florida A&M 56-14. North Carolina covers the spread. Yay for me. Defeats Charlotte 20-3. Kansas State loses to Army. That should not happen. Cadets win 24-21. Houston over Rice 35-9. We've got the UCF win over North Carolina A&T 68-7. Toledo defeats Western Kentucky 45-21. Colorado State over Northern Colorado 21-7. Memphis defeated Georgia State 38-16. Tulane too much for South Alabama 33-31. Eastern Michigan loses at home to Long Island 28-23. Ball State crushed by Auburn 42-3. Vandy was down by 10 points in this game to Virginia Tech 20-10. They came roaring back with 34 consecutive points on the road to win 44-20. And good for me because I took Vandy. Nebraska over Akron 68-0. USC disposed of Georgia Southern 59-20. Michigan State, I would love to watch the end of this game. I think I will go back and watch the fourth quarter and overtime. This is a game that I actually wanted to watch, but I did not watch any of it because I was focused on Oklahoma, Michigan, and also that Arizona State, Mississippi State game. Michigan State wins in overtime against BC 42-40. Purdue on top of Southern Illinois 34-17. This is making me realize how many teams there are in college football. Coastal Carolina defeats Charleston Southern 13-0, and McNeese loses at Louisiana 34-10. Those are the scores. Now let's get to the calls. We got Ben checking in tonight. Ben, what's going on?
What's going on, man? I'm about to rant real quick, man.
Oh,
you're gonna love this rant.
Sure.
Okay.
Go to it.
Sharon Moore is not it. He's not it. What was that? Yeah. Anyways, yeah. Sharon Moore is not it, man.
Yeah.
I have never seen, and you watched the whole game, I'm assuming.
I did.
I have never seen such scared coaching in my life. In my life, Mark. Let's go through all of it.
Scared coaching, yes. I agree with you. I'll let you go on your rant. Scared coaching, yes, definitely. No question about that. I've seen worse, but go ahead. Keep going.
Okay, you know, I'm still young probably compared to you. Maybe you have, but I mean, we could go through it. Running up the middle consistently, throwing bubble screens on 3rd and longs consistently. The one series where we ran it 3 times, and then we got fortunate that Oklahoma decided to rough our kicker. Because the series right before that, we ran it 3 times. Well, are we trying to win the game?
Yeah.
Are we trying to win the game? We're in the red zone. It's 3rd and 6, I think, or something. We run it, right, on 3rd down again. And it's like 4th and 2, and then you kick a field goal? We're down 2 scores. What was the point of running it on 3rd down if you're and then you get a short yardage on 4th down, and then you don't even go for it on 4th down? What's the point of that? I honestly, and then the timeouts. That debacle of calling timeouts back to back. I mean, he's not ready to be a head coach. I know he had a couple good wins last year, Mark. I get that, but I've seen this story before. A guy takes over for a great head coach. The culture's still there, and then as the years go, you start to see that it was actually the prior coach's players and culture. This is reminding me of some Brady Hoke type stuff. This is reminding me. I'm not gonna say he's a Rich Rod bad, but it's kind of giving me that vibes right now. You have you have undisciplined, poor tackling. You have dumb penalties, overly emotional players. I mean, I could just go down the list, and honestly, Oklahoma should have won by more, in my opinion. They made some dumb. He threw a bad pick, and the guy was wide open,
Yep.
wide open. They muffed the kick too. I mean, man, I could go on all day, Mark, but I'm not going to be excited about a Michigan team, honestly, because I truly believe this after watching this game. I can't have a head coach that coaches scared. And this isn't the first time he's done this. We won games where he coached scared, like the Penn State game in 2023. He coached scared in that game. We were fortunate enough to win the game. He ran the ball 30 straight times. 30 straight times. Ohio State, I know we won the game, but I think he coached scared in that game too. I'm talking about last year.
Yeah.
When he gets in these big games, to me he's too tense, and it's like I don't think he had enough time of moving up as a coach. He literally went from a tight end coach to an O-line coach to an OC to a head coach in like 5 years. So I'll leave it there. I'll get your thoughts on what I just said.
So you bring up some great points, and I lean in your direction. I'm not all the way on your end of the spectrum. I'm going to play devil's advocate in a few ways because, as you well know, like Vince Lombardi once pointed out, basically execution corrects everything. So you can basically tell the defense, we are doing X, Y, and Z, but if you're not good enough to stop it, then we look like geniuses, even though our plays may be simple and easily figured out. So case in point here, there's a fine line between this is the Michigan identity. We're tough. We play in a phone booth. This is how we're going to win games because this is what we do, versus playing scared and it looking scared. Because if they're dominating the line of scrimmage, if they're running the football as they typically do and have the past 3 or 4 years, then it doesn't look so scared. That would be the first thing that I would say there. You know, the whatever it turned out to be, wasn't it like 32 consecutive rushes against Penn State a couple years ago that you alluded to? That game and that statistic just goes down in Michigan history among Michigan fans as just being brilliant, that they were able to run the ball 32 consecutive times. Well, you can look at that a couple different ways. Basically, his team out-executed his, in your terms, scared coaching is what they did. They just executed. They just mauled Penn State up front enough, and their defense was that good to protect the offense on that day. I do agree with you that, to me, Bryce Underwood may have been somewhat confused by Brent Venables' schemes, but he never threw the ball necessarily in harm's way. He more or less missed guys. They hit some things open.
Yeah.
And he just missed them.
Yeah, a couple things there. The scare thing is more, especially situationally, like 3rd and 9, 3rd and 13. You're calling bubble screens.
Yeah,
that's scared coaching. You're not even really giving yourself a chance to convert the down at all. And he did, and it's not like they did that one time. That was all night. You're basically saying, I'm giving up on the possession. I'm playing not to lose. I'm gonna punt the ball away. That's what that is. And then in terms of Bryce Underwood, he looked like a freshman tonight. Point blank. Period. He looked like a true freshman. And
sure.
On top of that, the O line is trash. He had no time to throw the ball. I want to say 90% of the time he had no time to throw the ball. Yeah, he missed guys for sure. I'm not saying he didn't, but a lot, like for example, I think it was in the 3rd or 4th quarter. The tight end, if he had probably 2 more seconds to throw the ball of protection, that tight end is wide open. No one's covering him. It's probably a touchdown.
Well, if
but the
it's a
O
play
line
I'm
is so
thinking of,
bad.
he had him anyway, and he missed him.
Oh,
It was
that's
a pretty
another play.
difficult throw downfield.
Yeah, that's another play. You're talking about the one where he overthrew him.
Yeah.
No, I'm talking about another one where it was a wheel route out of the backfield, and literally no one was on him. It would have been a touchdown. It was like a blown coverage, and he just got the pressure just got there right away, and he tried to go for the underneath route instead.
Do you really think that he was under pressure 90% of the time?
Oh yeah, the O line was trash. He
I
was
know
if
the O
he
line was trash against the run, couldn't
it,
move the the
well
the, the line of scrimmage, but in pass protection, were they that bad?
they go rewatch the game, and also we're
Hmm,
judging on really not that many plays, Mark, because they really didn't even trust him to do it. If we
sure.
really think back, it was mainly he throw quick to the
Yeah.
horizontally or run the ball.
Hmm.
But the times they did do it, the especially the interior of the O line was just getting pushed into his lap. This team is not. I'm gonna stand on this. This team is not good. I don't think this team. I think this is a mid team, and I haven't said that since probably 2020. I'm watching a team and I look at the lines of scrimmage. This is not a great football team.
So the thing I'll say about the down and distance is that, and you know this as well as I do, 3rd and 23, a lot of coaches bail on 3rd and 23, even if they have veteran quarterbacks. They just don't want them throwing those long seam shots with safeties just waiting to read it and jump it. So that's pretty common. But the 3rd and 9s, there's the 3rd and 6. They had a 3rd and 6 when they were deep in their own end. No, they had no, that was actually the exchange that you were talking about where they eventually got the roughing the punter, where
Yeah,
it was like 3rd and 6. And Justice Haynes got thrown for like a 3-yard loss because Oklahoma was just shooting the gaps and they're just
the
coming
most
after it.
predictable thing in the world, and they're running for. I want to go back and count. I think they may have thrown on first down like twice, Mark. I want to say. I literally think they might have thrown on first down twice. They ran the ball on first down, I feel like every single time. And then another thing, Mark, how slow were the plays in terms of developing? They were so
Yes.
slow. The motions, a lot of the times when they're doing play action
Yeah,
and
that's a
Bryce
good
Underwood's
point.
doing the fake handoff and
Yeah.
it's like a slow spin. It's so slow. You're giving the front seven so much time to get to the quarterback. It's just bad all around. It's just bad coaching. It's terrible.
Yeah, I'll give you that one. I did not think of that, but now when I think back, yeah, no quick hitters, nothing like that.
Mark, you watched a lot of football, man, and I don't know if you agree. I really think this is not a good. I'm the biggest Michigan fan, and I really think this is not a good football team. I really don't think this is a good football
Well, I
team,
hope
Mark.
you're right.
Well, I
But
know, and I'll be honest with you. Um, I think, and people are gonna say I'm jumping the gun on this. They're gonna say that, but I look at culture. Did you see Bryce Underwood and Justice Haynes arguing on the sideline too? Did you
yeah,
see that?
yeah.
Yeah, there's a culture problem to me.
See, that's another thing though that I don't try to read into because a lot of times you see that kind of fire on the sideline, and if the team ignites and they win, then people will go back and say, "Hey, that's the sign of competitiveness and fire, and they want to get it right. And they want to, there's leadership there. There's guys that are that intense, and they want to win." I think that can be interpreted both ways.
So I never take anything on its own. I'm basing this off of like the last 2 weeks, and it's also on the field. To me, the team is too high strung emotionally. You see it on every play. You see it with the penalties. There that to me that's a coaching. Hardball teams were not like that. Hardball teams were even keeled 90 some% of the time. When I
Right.
see a team that's
Mhm.
emotionally high strung throughout the entirety of the game, to me that's a culture thing. There's something going on during the week of practice that you're or during game day that you're not getting your players level headed. That's what that tells me. And the tackling, did I bring this up? They missed so many tackles. The tackling was atrocious. They had Mateer so many times in the backfield on blitzes and they just missed them. Or they had the running back and they just missed them. I mean, I could go all. I mean, there's so many things that were so bad about Michigan today. I could go on all day, Mark, all day. And yeah. All right. Well, that's enough about my team. The last couple things I'll say, man, is Ohio State. I think looks really the best team. I thought they looked really good. I thought Oregon looked the best today, though, considering they played a Power Four opponent. I thought they just looked crazy good. Ohio State to me looked very good today too, but considering the fact that they play, I know it's Oklahoma State and whatnot, but I thought Oregon looked phenomenal.
I did not see one play of the Oregon game. I try to watch two games during each window and concentrate on those two games. And so I didn't see any of the Oregon Oklahoma State game, but yeah, they obviously just completely annihilated them.
Yeah, and then also, I don't know how. See, we're a couple weeks into the season. I still don't know how good some of these teams are. For example, everybody was bragging about LSU and Clemson, right? And Clemson looked terrible today. I know they
Sure.
won the game, but they looked terrible. LSU, I didn't think looked that great either. So I have no idea how good they are. And also, I don't even know if Oklahoma's that great. I just think we might be bad. You know what I'm
Bad.
saying?
When you say bad, how bad are you talking about?
So I'm a big line of scrimmage guy.
Sure.
I think line of scrimmage, when you watch a line of scrimmage, it really dictates to me how good a football team is.
Absolutely, especially for your team.
Yeah, especially for our team. And Michigan today, and this might sound harsh, they did things that a lower level big team or a MAC level team does, where the lines of scrimmage is bad, and all you're doing is horizontal plays. That's what bad teams do. Bad teams, they don't block well, and they try to do everything horizontally, and they can't, and everything's slow developing. And to me, and I didn't even bring up the D line, Mark. The D line was getting no pressure. They had to blitz a bunch of guys to get pressure. The D line ain't getting nothing. So I just think they're bad because the lines of scrimmage are not good, and when the lines of scrimmage are not good, that ruins everything.
This is all true, but as you well know, teams also can change. They can get better. But to your first point, we were sitting here about 2 weeks before the game last year talking about Sharon Moore. This might be a bigger job than he's capable of handling at this point when they were losing to Washington and whomever else they lost to midseason. And until they caught fire and had those couple efforts against Ohio State and Alabama, you know, a lot changed in terms of people's perception of his abilities between like late October and late November. Because you're raising things that we talked about and a lot of other people talked about when they were whatever their record was, 5-5.
Yeah, I could make the argument though. First of all, the expectation in year two should be improvement.
Yes.
Should be improvement. I'm seeing the opposite. I'm not seeing improvement, especially in the lines of scrimmage. Last year we had, we don't have these guys. We don't have Mason Graham and Kenneth Grant to save us on the defensive line to get game breaking, but we don't have that, and that's clear as day that we don't have that. And people want to talk about Chip Lindsey had a terrible game calling. No, I think it's Sharon Moore because this looked exactly like last year when people were blaming the OC from last year. One thing Jim Harbaugh was so good at was game planning. I don't think Sharon Moore is a great game planner at all. I think you bring up the Ohio State game. Um, our offense really wasn't anything special. We didn't do anything special. We scored 13 points. The defense, I don't honestly. That was just I'm gonna say I think that was just a fluky game, Mark. That Ohio State game last year. That was like one of those mental games for Ryan Day. I think he got a little tight. I think I think we might be going on a bad run versus you guys. I'm gonna keep it a buck. I'm gonna keep it a buck.
Well, if nothing else, Michigan man, you know your football and you know your team and you're fair. So I got to respect that. I think you bring great points to the table. I do think that there are typically 5 or 6 elite teams in the country, and then there are probably 20 horrible teams in the country, and everybody else kind of brings something different every week. And I still think Michigan's a top 15 team in the country until I see this repeated. I got to see it again.
Yeah, well, look, man, I gotta see. Here's what I gotta see. I got to see us win a couple. I'll put it like this: the expectation should be playoffs. If we're not in the playoffs every year, we start missing playoffs and we start losing our rivalry games. Get Sharon out of here. I'm honestly already on that. I can't. A biggest pet peeve of mine is scared coaching. So I'm gonna end it on that. I'm already off the Sharon train because I cannot stand scared coaching. Why do we got a Ferrari at quarterback if we're just gonna not? If we're not. I get he's a freshman, but I better see you start using Bryce Underwood and stop being a wuss when it comes to play calling, or you could get. I'm gonna buy you a plane ticket up on out of there. All right, go blue, man.
That's a Michigan man bringing it tonight. We always appreciate that. David Greenshield. Mark, I bet scum on your recommendation. Here's the key, David. If you're going to take my picks, you got to take all of them. I did not give that some kind of special confidence weight. You got to bet them all. And that almost always turns out pretty well. I need to add up today's numbers, but despite some excruciating point spread losses for me, I still think I came out okay. I was 15-7 coming into today. So you gotta take them all. All right, welcome into the Voice of College Football. We got the real MVP on the line.
Hey, Mark, how you doing?
Hey, I'm doing great.
How much one day could change the conversation around a team? Yesterday, Keith was talking about how they're going to beat Oklahoma by 15 points at least, and today the head coach, the offensive coordinator, and the pet dog needs to be run out of town. Mark, my goodness, I mean, who could have seen it coming? A true freshman on his first true road start didn't play well at all. Who could have seen this coming? You know. In all seriousness, you know who they reminded me of? They remind me of Iowa. That's who they remind me of. If anybody scores 24 points on them, God bless them. They're going to win that game. I mean, but their defense has taken a step or two back because in the red zone, Mateer's going to run the football. I think everyone on planet Earth knows this, except for the Michigan defense, because 3 times he just walked right into the end zone with nobody touching him. I mean, in previous years when they were at the elite level, that wouldn't have happened.
No.
Then this year it did.
This is the best offensive line performance, or flip the script, worst Michigan defensive front 7 defensive line performance in the trenches that I can think of going back to when Georgia, and I'm not comparing what Oklahoma did tonight because it was nowhere close to what Georgia did to Michigan in that playoff game. The first time Michigan made the playoffs, when they got a, punch in the gut and a reality check facing the best team in the country. That team just annihilated them. That was nothing close to what we saw tonight. But that's the last time I can remember Michigan losing at the line of scrimmage on both sides of the ball.
Right, and it was decisive too. And the crazy part is, for a Michigan fan, this is just an average SEC team. And I'm not saying that to be mean, or I'm not just pulling that out of my butt. The Vegas odds had Oklahoma as the 8th, tied for 7th with Florida and Arkansas, to be right in the middle of pack to win the SEC at plus 2,000. So this is just an average SEC team according to Vegas, and they got absolutely trounced.
Yes,
they're not.
As you included according to Vegas, and we shall see how it plays out.
Right. Well, the saving grace for Michigan is their schedule is horrendous, Mark. They could legitimately go 10-2, and based on this performance, a 10-2 Michigan team does not belong in the playoffs. Now, getting to other teams, because Michigan wasn't the only team to play.
Well, give me a scenario real quick before you move on. Michigan's 10-2, and they just lost this game by 11 points on the road to Oklahoma, who's going to go, what, 8-4?
Yeah, let's say 8-4.
Okay,
be generous.
Oklahoma, and Michigan loses one other game to
Ohio State.
And they lose by how much?
27-10.
Okay. They should not go to the playoff.
Right. Their best win is Nebraska. Sorry, that's not good enough. You're out.
Okay. All right. Keep going.
We got other teams who played like absolute garbage, Mark, and they were in specifically one conference, which is the Big 12. Kansas State. You lost to a team that just lost to Tarleton State.
Yeah.
I know that's some transitive property, but my point is Army ain't good, Mark. I mean, God bless our troops. I think we all love our troops out there, and we all love the USA.
They're not football players.
Sure. Right. Army's not good this year, though. Theirs isn't last year's Army. Kansas State might be the worst P4 team. I mean, they almost lost to North Dakota a week ago.
I don't think that's going to play out.
I know,
Who did you say? Tell me last week was the worst P4 team? Was it Wake Forest?
It was Wake Forest,
well,
but man,
no, you said that they were the worst team in the country, and then I corrected it, at least in my perspective, to possible worst team in the P4. Okay.
Well, hey, things change. Wake Forest had a decent win today against Western Carolina.
Yes.
And Kansas State is playing one possession games against everyone in the country, no matter how good or bad they are. Until they beat somebody decent, and at least until they blow somebody out with the pulse. I mean, my goodness, barely beating North Dakota, losing to Army.
Maybe I'm just a little
State,
sensitive.
Kansas State, Mark. It's going to be a high.
I may be just a little bit sensitive when it comes to Kansas State because I picked them to go to the playoffs and win the Big 12.
Fair.
Let me down.
This is true. There we have some other games from the Big 12 also. Arizona State, what are you doing at the end of the game? What are you doing with that defensive coverage? Yeah. 2-on-2 on the outside, and you give inside leverage to a Mississippi State wide receiver? You kidding me?
That already burned you for a 50-yard touchdown.
Yeah. It's bad, Mark.
So it's not like you didn't know that this guy was capable. This guy was recruited and signed at Texas and played at Oklahoma and is known for his speed, Brennan Thompson. Yeah. I don't expect that from Kenny Dillingham. He's too good for that.
And believe it or not, it just keeps getting worse for the Big 12, Mark. Ohio won against West Virginia, and it's not even shocking because West Virginia was only 3-point favorites against Ohio. Not Ohio State, Mark. Ohio.
Yeah, the Big 12 is officially I'm going to reserve, that I reserve judgment. I want to make sure I'm exhaustive and complete. But when Kansas State loses at home to Army, West Virginia goes and loses to a MAC team, Oklahoma State gets annihilated. I don't care how good Oregon is. They might, even if they were the best team in the country, no major conference team has any business losing by 66 points to anyone. I don't care if it's 2019 LSU. You shouldn't be losing by 66 points. Oklahoma State, I got your comment pinned right there. Yeah, it's about time for Mike Gundy to leave. His program is a complete disaster.
Yeah, his team, in my opinion, if you lose by 60 points or more, your team gives up on you. And that's what happened here. I don't care that their starting quarterback didn't play this game. You could take a knee on every single play, and you should theoretically lose by a similar amount than this, Mark. I mean, you do nothing. You don't even show up, and they'll just put in 50-0 as just a consolidation number, and that would be better than this. I mean, it was from start to literal finish. It was humiliating.
Yeah.
Where's the pride in the coaches, the players to do something? They've got parents that want to watch them and do something. I mean, come on. At least act like you care and not just doing it for the money or lack of money, as Mike Gundy so foolishly said, to get Dan Lanning upset. Another team, Mark, and this was one of the best games of the week, in my opinion, was the Kansas-Missouri game. I'll tell you what, Kansas looked elite in that first quarter. They looked like the best team in America in that first quarter, but man, the wheels fell off, and Missouri just kept chipping away, and then they pulled away late. Do you think it's just the depth of Missouri led to the victory in that game?
Yeah, I think that they have superior talent. You see this a lot. There was another game that came across my radar this week where if you have a well-coached team, for example, Kansas pulled off a 4th down play where they were at their own 37-yard line, and it was like 4th and 3. And they weren't in desperation mode. They actually may have had the lead. And Lance Leipold dialed up a very exotic play, got his tight end wide open for like a 50-yard play. I just think he's an excellent coach. His team's very well coached. They've got a dynamic quarterback, and he had a really good game plan, but Eli Drinkwitz certainly is no slum. He's no slob. He knows what he's doing. And it's depth, but it's also just frontline talent. Their first team talent's better as well.
Yeah. And there's a team out there nobody's talking about, that nobody's going to give them attention. listen, they're a legit threat to make the playoffs this year. Okay, I'm not talking about winning their conference, or I'm talking playoffs for this
Can I
team.
take a guess?
Yes,
Vanderbilt.
that's exactly right.
They scored the last 34 points on the road against Virginia Tech.
And Virginia Tech completely shut down South Carolina's offense a week ago.
Yeah.
I was so impressed with Vanderbilt was doing the entire game, particularly in the second half. They beat Alabama last year, and they should have beat Texas. If Vanderbilt's name was some other name that wasn't the stigma of we're a terrible football team and we're losing, they would be ranked inside the top 25 right now, Mark, in my opinion. The only reason that Florida was ranked preseason is because the AP poll voters saw that they won 2 games at the end of the season, and then they brought their starting quarterback back, and that they thought this must mean that they're going to be good again. No, Vanderbilt right now is one of the top half SEC teams, and people need to put respect on their names. Okay, listen, I'm not trolling when I say this. Put Vanderbilt up against Oklahoma. I'm picking Vanderbilt right now.
Well, I don't know about that. I think it would be a good ball game. I also think that you could say the same thing, not based on who they're going to play down the road in their conference, but based on who they've already played, is South Florida.
Oh yeah, South Florida's they got an excellent game next week against Miami, by the way. That might be one of the premier games of the week.
Yeah, that'll be fun.
Oh yeah. And I gotta address this thing about Drew Aller, Mark. Are you still the president of his fan club? I tell you what, man, him against FIU did not go well today, Mark.
I did not see any of that game. I know that I watched one highlight when Penn State supposedly, as the ESPN announcer said, not the game announcer, but whoever was doing highlights from the studio, made it sound like Penn State was in trouble. The score was 27-0 at the time that one of their 2 backs, either Singleton or Allen, ripped off like a 50-yard touchdown run. And he was talking like they were in danger of losing or something. But yeah, I did not see any stats or passes from Drew Aller today.
Well, I didn't see hardly much of this game, but what I do know is if it's 10-0 at the half against FIU when you're at home, I'm worried. This gave me a lot of Bowling Green vibes last year. You remember that game where Bowling Green team comes back and interesting? Penn State, to me, is just everybody believes they're going to be good, similar to Clemson because they return a lot of their players, but they're not actually improved in any way, shape, or form. Now, they're going to go win a 10 or 11 games and be easily in the playoff because that's what Penn State does, but they're going to lose to Ohio State because that's what they do. We know who they are. This is who they're going to be going forward.
Drew Aller, 19 of 33 for 200 yards and 2 touchdowns.
I mean, not exactly good or great, I would have liked to see a little more zip around on the ball. You think for somebody who's as experienced he is against inferior competition, his completion percentage would be better than about 50%.
Well, to your point, Julian Sainz playing in his 2nd game of his career. He's not a 4-year starter like Drew Aller, and he went out against Grambling State and hit 19 of 20.
Right. And I know Grambling State is probably a worse team than FIU, sure, but still, I mean, that's insane. Julian Sainz and Marsh Manning both did well today. They both did fine. I think people forgot the fact that Texas and Ohio State are probably 2 of the 3 best teams in the country right now. And
you know why? Because that score was 14-7. That's
exactly
why. If it was 34-30, then people would have thought this is a great game. These are 2 great teams. And people are kind of dismissing that game. And I understand it wasn't the prettiest thing to watch.
I know, but defense is coming back to rule the roost in college football. Even these high-octane offenses, they're not hitting the 60s and 70s that they once were hitting on a consistent basis. They're getting into the 50s and 40s against these inferior opponents. Mark, I got to ask you also, by the way, can we give a congrats to Bryant for beating UMass, Mark? The UMass Minutemen, they lost again to Bryant 27-26. I figured I'd shout out that game as one of the few people who actually keep an eye on the UMass Minutemen.
Nice job there. Kirk Ferentz is going to be going for the all-time Big Ten victory record next week against UMass. He couldn't get it against Iowa State. They're going to be able to celebrate against UMass. And I will be pointing out, I'm sure numerous times this week, and especially on our Iowa show, that while Kirk Ferentz is setting the Big Ten all-time coaching win record, he's doing so with about 64 more losses than Woody Hayes.
Oh, yeah.
So Woody Hayes would have to go 1-64 to eclipse Kirk Ferentz's all-time Big Ten wins record.
Right. I mean, it is a longevity award at the end of the day, but it is cool that somebody not in a premier program has the all-time record.
Sure.
It gives hope for us little guys out there, you know.
What happened in that Kentucky game today?
What happened in the Kentucky game? We don't know how to talk and communicate with one another, Mark. We don't know how to align properly. We had a similar problem, except worse. We have a worse case of Michigan's offensive problems. Where are we supposed to go to align? No, you're over here. No. You're supposed to be over there. I've never seen a team waste all three of their timeouts because they had alignment issues, Mark. I mean, it's just a disaster what we're doing.
So I looked at the box score. I wanted to see that game, but again, I got to discipline myself to 2 games because then I wind up 2 hours later thinking I've been scattered all over the place and I've really not taken in anything. So I always 2 games, and Ole Miss and Kentucky didn't quite make the cut. But I looked at the box score and I saw that your backup quarterback completed like a 40-yard pass late in the game, and I thought, did Zach Calzada get hurt or did they pull him?
No, he got hurt. His right shoulder, his shoulder got re-injured again.
Okay.
The one he had surgery on. So, you know, we're going to go with Cutter Boley now, and we're going to pretend that we're going to be decent because we're bringing in a backup quarterback. Not the case. Not the case at all. Also, you took Ole Miss minus 7.5, 8.5. I'm sorry that Kentucky kicked a field goal with like 8 seconds left in the game. You know, we're playing against the spread now, Mark. We're not even playing to win the game. We're playing against the spread. That's how bad a place we are down here.
Yes, that's the goal now.
Yeah,
they're going to start posting Mark Stoops' record against the spread.
Yeah, I would have liked to seen them run the ball more because it was actually successful and it was productive. Every time we threw the ball, it felt like a disaster was impending to happen because Zach Calzada is not an accurate quarterback at all. Apparently, I was one of the few people that was worried about it because people were like, oh my gosh, we got Zach Calzada. No, he's terrible. And Cutter Boley's going to be terrible, by the way, even though his spiral does look nice. But we got Eastern Michigan coming up next, Mark. They lost to Long Island today. So we should easily win that game 70-0, but we're in a bad way, Mark. We're going to go probably 3-9. Put him on the fire list with Mike Gundy and Billy Napier. It's going to be an off-season of terminal, and I guess Sharon Moore as well. So we're going to have a lot of coaching movement.
Yeah, you're starting to get me thinking in that direction.
Did you see the end of the UCLA UNLV game?
No, I just saw your comment about Nico throwing a game-losing interception.
Yeah, UNLV was trying to choke away that game basically through the fourth quarter, and UCLA was just marching down the field, and then he threw a pass and it got tipped, and then a UNLV defender dived on it, and that's how they lost. It's good to see Nico. I'm going to leave you lose football games. I think everyone is united. You know, it's rare to have unified fronts nowadays in America. We're all unified against Nico, so hopefully he'll lose next week as well. But, Mark, that's all I got for you. Man, it's going to be a long season for me. I can't wait till we go 3-9.
All right. The one and only DeReal MVP. I know that I posted that obviously our nightly routine is that I go for an hour unless we hit our goals and you want to keep me on here. But I'm going to honor everybody's phone calls. So certainly we are not going to let you just hang. So I will be answering all the calls regardless of how long that takes. Adam, we appreciate the super chat contribution. Mark, Clemson has no class. They had some nerve only beating a silly Troy team by 11 points. Klubnik is worse than Drew Aller. I did not see one play of that game. They were down by 16 points and came back with 27 straight to beat Troy. Not a good look for Clemson, especially after they lost to LSU. Now, if they would have beaten LSU and then came back with a lackluster performance, you could say it's a bit of a hangover. I expected Clemson would tighten things up and come out with a little bit of fire and lay waste to Troy. They did not. Yeah, through 2 weeks, both Drew Aller, although he's not played anyone of significance, so let's measure him against the Ohio States of the world, and Cade Klubnik have been underwhelming, no question. All right, we also have a super chat coming in from C. Jenkins 313. DJ Wagway sucks. Fire Sunbelt Billy already. Florida. Let's remember the same thing was being said at this point last year. Let's just keep that in mind. I'm not saying that you're wrong, and I'm not saying that Florida's going to tolerate or be happy with 8-5 every year. But considering the way it looked in September last year, they were obviously ecstatic with 8-5 and wins over LSU and Ole Miss and a bowl win. But I got to think that 7-5 is going to keep his job, depending on the recruiting situation. C. Jenkins 313. There's 0 teams that look dominant so far. 0 teams are dominant. Well, against the competition, Oregon has been dominant. Yes, Oregon's been dominant, but they have yet to be tested. So I'm not going to argue with that point. Appreciate you being here at the Voice of College Football. The Amazon link's in the description section of this video and all the videos. Please use the Amazon link. It's not going to play with your account in any such way. It's exactly the same when you do your shopping. So please use the Amazon link. I do appreciate it. I would not be in need of any super chats if everyone used the Amazon link. All right, next call. We've got DeAndre on the line.
Hey, Mark, can you hear me?
I got you. What's going on?
First off, I want to say something about the coach at Michigan.
Yes.
I hear everybody getting on him, but I would like to say this, and this is to the best of my recollection. To Jim Harbaugh won the national championship, 2 years ago? I think a lot of people were trying to get rid of him, and cheating is cheating. He was still in signals to help win the games. So, I'm not saying that Shamon Moore is a terrible coach, but you got to remember that he wasn't too hot at Michigan. I mean, Michigan just got hot with like the last 2 years, maybe last 3 years. At the end of Jim Harbaugh's career at Michigan, because they were trying to fire him, if I'm not mistaken, and also reduce his salary at one point. Or he had to take a salary cut, and then he started stealing signs.
So to be a little bit more clear about that, I'm not going to debate most of that, DeAndre, because I think you've got some valid points there. Michigan was a bad program when Jim Harbaugh took it over. So he did lift the program considerably. They were coming off 5-7 type seasons for a long time. They had a 7-year record of 500. So they were bad. And he immediately elevated them to, and his run of seasons were a lot of 9-3s, a couple 10-2s, and 8-4, those kind of seasons. Top 15 seasons, but obviously getting his brains beat in by Ohio State and anybody else that had a top 10, top 5 kind of team. And then they kicked it into gear in 2021. They won the Big Ten championship 3 years in a row with him as the head coach, and they won the national championship. But you're right, in 2020, who knows what would have happened to Michigan football and Jim Harbaugh had there not been a pandemic and they only played 6 games. They might have gone 4-8. He might have been fired. I was certainly campaigning for his job to be saved because I still think he's a good coach, aside from the cheating situation, which I'm not going to delve too much into that because we've been talking about it for a year and a half. But you're right. The program did cheat. That can't be denied.
Right. But I don't, I'm more into the gambling aspect of games now. I don't know if you know Dan, but Dan Rand, I think he used to be on your show doing the West Virginia shows. and he's a great guy, great guy. And I know he had picked Kansas State, and he had picked some big unit size. I was kind of shocked that Army beat them. I didn't watch the game because I could have swore I was flipping through, and Kansas State was up 17-0. And I said, "Dag, I forgot to bet that game right there." And 'cause a lot of people was on Kansas State to beat Army. I not something I would go back and watch, but I was like shocked when you said that Kansas State lost to Army. Um, at one game I'm not shocked about, but I wish I would have went the other way. Was that Florida and South Florida game, and the reason why for the last couple of years we watched South Florida give Alabama trouble, and the
Yep.
cover of 17.5 spread was kind of high. I mean, just going back looking at it, and I know hindsight, it doesn't matter. It's water under the bridge. But if you look how South Florida played and the fact that they got all this SEC talent there that transferred in, maybe we should have looked at it a different way. And they got a pretty good quarterback. Sometimes I think we don't take them as seriously because we're looking at the names, and just like the gentleman said, they had DJ Lagway coming back and stuff like that. And I just don't think that we took that game very seriously.
So I just added up my record for today. I don't consider this to be a great day, but I still went 9-7 against the spread. That'll still make a few dollars.
Right.
I had some games go against me here. So I took Iowa plus 3.5, got that right. Illinois to cover 2.5, got that right. I took Texas to cover 36.5. They didn't. They only won by 31. Took Baylor plus the 3. They won, and I took them to win outright. So that would have been a money line play. I took Michigan plus 5.5. They lost. There's the Florida game. You're right. Took Florida to cover those points. They didn't. I thought I was going to sneak one in here and get an easy win, but West Virginia went to Ohio and lost the game. Clemson, I went through a bad stretch here with Clemson not covering. I did take Mississippi State to cover the 6.5. They did. Ole Miss, this is the one game that irked me because Kentucky kicked a field goal with like 5 seconds left in the game, or Ole Miss would have covered. That would have put me at 10-6. USC covered the 28. Vandy, they poured it on and won by a zillion points, and so I got that right. This one irked me too because Kansas was up by 4 points with like 4 minutes left in the game, and they gave up 2 touchdowns. And the last one, I thought Missouri was just going to milk the clock and run out the clock, but the guy ran for a 65-yard touchdown, and so Missouri covered the spread. And then I had North Carolina covering 13.5. They did. I had Oregon covering the 4 touchdowns. They did. And I took Boston College plus 4, and they only lost by 2. So I got the last 3 straight.
Yeah. The thing about the Clemson game, I I have said this up front more. I'm not a K cutting it fan or
Yeah.
anything. But also they don't get no push up the middle of their offensive line. Their offensive line has been weak, middle of it, been weak for years now, and they haven't fixed that problem. So it's hard for them to get a good running game going. Their receiver core was as good as people said it was. It shouldn't have mattered if you're missing Antonio Williams. You should have did a lot better. Um, what else is about to say? They just don't play well, and it makes me think Garrett Riley is not as good as people say as a coordinator. Maybe it was the guy for TCU. I can't think of the coach name. Dan
Sonny
Lovett,
Dykes.
Sonny Dice. Yeah, maybe it was his system and not Riley's. And why we bringing up BYU SMU, man? I took that -3. I just do stuff for reference. I look at people's stuff. Sometimes I bet before you even put up your items, your bets. So I got it at a different number. But to give up that many points and a kicker missed like 2 field goals, and then
Mm,
he's probably one of the best kickers. But if you go look at the reason why SMU lost that game, because the refs kind of screwed SMU. The guy had hit the quarterback with his helmet, and they called off the targeting, and it
okay.
made the field goal longer. And they kind of and you saw it hit him in the helmet, and he was sliding down. So the ball had missed he had missed a field goal, but then he missed one in overtime for like 30 yards or something like that. So that's probably one of the best field goal kickers in the country. So but man, it's all good. I think we had a great day, and I'm glad to have football back. That Iowa State, I couldn't figure out why down the point spread, but the total was that high. I think the total was at what 43.5, and I
Yeah.
think they went under by like 29. Now I'm hoping your boy. I love Steve to death. I'm happy a chance to talk to him outside of your platform on Twitter and a couple other things. I buy some of his picks on Wager Talk. So I hope his under the radar pick come in. Cause last week, boy, that burnt me. I forgot what game it was,
Uh-oh.
but
He last week he took Washington to cover 21.5, and they won by 17.
yeah. And this week, I don't know what's going on with that game, but I'm not gonna put the business out there. But so
Well,
hopefully,
it
yeah,
doesn't matter now. We can go ahead. Let's see. That he was taking Hawaii to cover.
yeah, 6.5.
Uh they're up 7-3 right now.
Yeah. So
We'll see.
yeah. So, but yeah, and
I don't
I
know what to
so
tell you, DeAndre. He throws those out. Those are all his. I have nothing to do with it.
not out. He's especially in baseball. When he says that a game is gonna go over, he always hits on it. He's really, really good at baseball. He's really good at football too. Because when he used to get that Navy Army pick, I always followed that pick strategy outside the last couple years when they went over. Like when the what's they called, the service academies play each other. You
Yeah.
always take the under. But like since Navy has evolved their offense and throw a little bit more. It
Yep.
always don't work now. But hey, but it was so. Hey, but Mark, I'll let other people talk, man. Thank you.
Thanks, DeAndre. Appreciate it.
Hey, Mark.
Yep.
Before you go, I saw something crazy. Florida Gators had never had number one overall pick. I saw that and I thought that
Okay.
was so absolutely crazy.
Yeah.
Nah,
I
it was
guess
just
not.
shocking. Hey, yep. You take care, Mark.
Thanks, DeAndre. Appreciate it. So there are my picks for the day. 16 games. I went 9-7 against the spread. 24-14 this season. So if you like to put a dime or so forth, I do not advocate gambling, but I do throw my picks out there because they've been pretty good throughout the years. 24-14 against the spread. That's what is that, about 65%? Maybe not quite. That is certainly well within range. So I did some math while DeAndre was on the line. If you put $100 on every pick, you would have lost $1,400 on the 14 you lost, but you would have won $2,184 because you win $91 on a $100 bet. So you'd be about $800 up. All right, folks, we appreciate you being here. The voice of college football. Next up, we got Burks on the line. Burks, what's going on?
Dude, Mark, I want to do like a rant, man. And shout out to that big baller guy, man. He was like right on with a lot of stuff. But dude, it was a tough damn game, man. Holy crap.
All right, it's all yours.
Yeah, dude. Mark, I think I'm done with this. The Michigan media, man, they hyped our team so much this off season, man. I'm done with it, man. They get our expectations so high that our team's gonna be like some elite, like greatest team ever. And then guess what happens? We get fooled. We get clowned, right? Fool me once, shame on you. But fool me twice, I punch your face. That's what I want to do with the Michigan media. All right. They literally like we had this momentum and stuff. Like, look at last year, man. I remember, dude. We had Mason Graham, all these guys coming. They're like, oh, the offense was gonna be good. The QBs, man. Alex Orji, next Jalen Milrow. Like, holy crap, man. and and guess what happens, man? We go 8-5, and I feel this team. It's giving me these vibes, man, because it's like, bro, Wink is saying like, oh, our depth is so good for secondary and D line and all this stuff, and it's like, man, I just can't do it. I'm sorry, Mark, but like until I see Michigan make the playoffs, I'm not predicting a playoff team for Michigan until I see it. Like I predicted a 10-2 season this year, and man, I don't know. I'm still gonna go with 10-2 right now, but man, if we lose another game, then I don't know, dude. Like it really early, and it's just, bro, it's just heartbreaking. Like the Michigan YouTube even and social media feel like their season's kind of over. It feels like that, even though it's not. It feels like it because of like we just got shout out to Oklahoma, man. They played a good game, even though they made a lot of mistakes. And John Mateer looks like a little Baker Mayfield how he plays. So yeah, but
Well, you got to keep one thing in mind, Burks, is that most of the people that cover these teams, especially if you're talking about YouTube, they're generally fans of the teams. So they're going to
I'm
be biased and they're going to
yeah.
slant in that direction.
I'm not saying YouTube. I'm saying like Sam Webb and these like 247
Okay.
guys and stuff.
Yeah.
They hyped it up too much. I'm not talking about YouTube, but they just hype. And I don't know if you know, Mark, but next year's schedule for Michigan, it's tough, man. It's tough. And it's really possible if our team does not change, and let's say we don't make the playoffs, and we don't get any that much better for next year. Man, we could honestly, and I don't want to say this, but we could go back to the dark ages like Adidas, and it would not be good. And Mark, when your team starts to not do good and stuff, then you know what starts to happen? Donors stop investing money, all that stuff. So it could be a crap show, but I still have hope for this team. I'm a positive fan, but like just watch out because man, this could be either a roller coaster season or this could be a trash season or a good. I don't know. And one more thing I need to say, Mark, I need to mention too is I want playoffs, man. I don't want this, oh, just beat Ohio State. Who cares? As long as we beat No, I want playoffs. I want us to go far. I want us to win a national championship. This only beating Ohio State crap, this needs to stop. And this is I'm trying to tell this to all my fan base, man. Stop with this only beating Ohio State. I want a damn playoffs because playoffs and winning a championship is what makes a program elite. Not beating our damn rival, damn it. That should not be the only thing. Like, holy crap, bro. Like, it's just, and it makes me a little mad too. It's like, I think we're getting karma too, because it's like, bro, like, we are acting like last year we had a better season in Ohio State when Ohio State beat the Natty. Good. Okay. I love that we upset at Ohio State. Don't get me wrong. I love it. Right. But you cannot just say, like, us beating Ohio State, we had a better season than Ohio State, man. Like, holy crap, dude. And this is the
Well,
issue.
anyone who would say that is a complete moron.
Thank you. No, a lot of people say that, Mark.
You would have to be a complete moron to say that you are better, you had a better season than the national champions just because you won a game.
Mark, that's our whole damn Twitter fan base, their community. I'm telling you, this is why I don't go on Twitter. It's because I get into fights with people like this. Because it's like, bro, you cannot make our fan base stupid by saying stuff like that. I want our fan base to be the smartest. Like, come on, bro. Like, Jesus Christ, dude. So I'm just saying, to say that, it's crazy. And Michigan fans need to stop having this mindset of, because we went 8-5. Okay, that's not a good season, bro. Okay, it's not. I care about playoffs. I care about national title. I don't care, honestly, that crazy. I care about beating Ohio State, but not like crazy that, oh, if you beat Ohio State, it's a win season. Because it wasn't last year. It was a failure season. And if you do this thing again this year, it's still a failure season. 8-5, and we beat Ohio State if we do this again this year. I don't think we're going 8-5. I hope not. But it's just, I don't know what to say, bro. It's like, I don't know, man.
Well, Burks, I try not to tell people how to feel. That they should, every fan should put whatever level of importance on each game as they deem. It's not up to me to tell people what's important, what's not important. But there are things that are objectively important, like winning a championship is important versus beating Northwestern in week 3. You can't equate those things. But I'm not trying to tell people how to feel about this rivalry, and that it's objectively less important than it used to be. That can't be debated. But I'm not telling people that they shouldn't hold it just as important as they used to, because that's everybody's own personal decision. But the rivalry is less important objectively. That's all there is to it. Because it used to mean advancing to a Big Ten championship game that you would have to go to and win to get to the playoffs and advance, and all those things were in play before, where they're not in play anymore. But the way people feel, I have no issue with that. If people still want to say that's the most important game in the world, absolutely. If that's what it means to you, that's fine.
But Mark, saying that, 8-5 is like, I don't care if we lose to, like, fans today were saying, I don't care if we lose to Oklahoma. As long as we beat you guys, they were talking to Ohio State fans. That's all that matters. It's like, okay, so you're fine with us not making the playoffs. Is that what you're trying to say? Because that's a failure season. I'm sorry, man. This is Michigan. We are one of the top 5 biggest brands. We have high expectations, okay? All right. 8-5 is not a good expectation in beating our rivals, or only beating our rivals and not making the playoffs. That is not the expectation of Michigan. But if some people like it and enjoy it, then I don't know what to say, man, in our fan base.
Well, I agree with you,
Yeah.
and that's how I look at it as well. But I'm thinking that, I had some seasons as an Ohio State fan early in my life where they salvaged, meaning to me and to a lot of Ohio State fans, they salvaged a bad season by beating Michigan at the end. Now, that doesn't mean that I enjoyed that season or I thought it was a success. But once you've already had a disappointing season like Michigan had, sitting there at 6-5, then you can gain a lot of satisfaction and a lot of bragging rights from winning that game, but you still had a bad season. So both can take place at the same time.
Yeah, you're right. And I just also want to say that, during the game, Michigan and Oklahoma, man, Sharon Moore, like Big Ben Baller guy said, he coached scared. And,
Yeah.
When we went to 3rd and 6, why were we not throwing the ball? Why do we run the ball? Oh, wait, you know why? Why? Because I feel like Sharon Moore, this is my issue here, he does not believe in the receivers, I feel like the
Sure.
receivers are an issue. It's a problem, and he doesn't want Bryce Underwood he feels like the receivers are still an issue right now. And he doesn't want Bryce Underwood to throw a pick at 3rd down and 6 or something, because the receivers can't catch the ball. So they have to run it. And that's honestly what cost us the game, I feel. We went down too many 3rd and 6s, and we ran it. We missed it. We had to punt it. Then we went for field goal. We had to go for it. We should have went for it many times, man. It was just, man, like, and he's trying so hard to be Harbaugh. It's just not working, man. And, the seat is hot for it's warm. It's not hot for Sharon Moore yet, but it's warm. I'll say that. If he has another 8-5 season or loses 4 games, and then next year we don't make the playoffs, he's out. I don't care. He can do all the good recruiting that we want. At the end of the day, man, it's wins over recruiting. Okay, wins over landing 5-star, 4-star recruits. That's basically what I just have to say. And all I ask is for Michigan fans is be humble. Be positive, but at the same time, live in reality. You got to live in reality no matter what, because this is not a championship team right now. So that's all I got to say, Mark, and appreciate for taking my call.
Thanks for being here, Burks. We appreciate it. Have a good night.
Yeah, take care.
Yeah, that was not a championship team we saw in Norman, Oklahoma tonight. So if Michigan does not improve significantly, they are not going to contend for anything of consequence this year. I'm not saying that that's completely out of reach. They've got a freshman quarterback who could improve by leaps and bounds throughout the season, and teams change from week to week, and then other teams in the conference change from week to week based on injuries and other factors. So it's not like the season's over because they lost 1 game on the road against a really good football team that I do think is one of the top 15 teams in the country. But they are far from a championship team. They were not a very good team tonight. They were the 20th or 30th best team in the country tonight. That's generally how they played. They couldn't run the ball. They couldn't throw the ball. They couldn't stop a running quarterback. those were generally their problems. Their defense didn't play horribly, but they didn't play like a Michigan defense at an elite level. And then their offense was basically non-existent. They completed 9 out of 24 passes, and they had one huge touchdown run that obviously was the one play in which they scored a touchdown. And every other time they were in the red zone, it was because there were special teams or defensive miscues on the other team that led to them being in the red zone. All right. Welcome into the Voice of College Football. We got Rob on the line.
Hey, Mark, how you doing?
Hey, Rob. Doing
Hey.
well. How are you?
I'm great. Just got back from vacation. I guess that's my only the only thing that bugs me a little bit. I got to go back to work tomorrow, but
Yeah.
but not a lot of good football today, Mark.
No.
A lot of blowouts against terrible teams, and I mean that I was hoping that Michigan game would be a little bit closer, but I guess it was still pretty entertaining to watch. Bryce Underwood definitely looked a little off, to say the least, but yeah, I was impressed with Mateer. I was impressed with Oklahoma's defense again. I think the reel's wrong. I don't think Oklahoma's a mid-tier SEC team. I think they're going to have a pretty good season. I think they got a hard schedule, but if they can go like even 9-3 with the schedule they got, that's going to be a pretty good year for them. So.
Yeah, this Texas game sizes up much differently than it did in the preseason, where most people thought Texas was arguably the best team in the country and Oklahoma was more like the 20th best team in the country, and then it would be a 2 or 3 score game. Based on what we've seen thus far this season, there's no reason to believe that Oklahoma cannot compete with Texas.
Right, yeah. I mean, and Arch Manning, I was watching that game today, and he's still like looking down. He's like staring down his primary receiver. I mean, yeah, he had 4 touchdown passes, but that wasn't a good team they were playing. He's still got some things to work on, and I think he's going to be a good quarterback. But I don't know that John Mateer isn't just better than I would take John Mateer on over Arch Manning right now for my team if I was picking.
I did not see that game at all. I saw a couple of highlights, but they showed a stat during one of the halftime shows that Arch Manning did not complete a pass under duress.
Right.
And
yeah, he had
measured, but
yeah, he had a lot of time to throw, and he was still like staring down his primary receiver almost every time. And he was kind of throwing behind his receivers, like not terribly, but it wasn't like a really good in sync pass. So yeah, he still has some work to do, but I think he can become a great college quarterback. Do I think he should have been picked as the front runner Heisman candidate right off the bat? No, it was stupid. It was in fact almost criminal how all the media was like proclaiming he was going to be the Heisman winner when he hadn't even started a game as the starter of that team yet, and he was coming behind Quinn Ewers the entire season last year. So it was just kind of silly.
Yeah, I can't think of any other season where a Heisman favorite was a guy who never played.
Yeah.
Almost never played any meaningful football. Now, if you want to project that so-and-so is the new Ohio State quarterback, Julian Sayin in this case, and therefore he's liable to put up great numbers and possibly be a Heisman candidate, and I'm sure Julian Sayin was somewhere down the line in the top 10 of Heisman favorites, then that's understandable to me. But to be the odds-on favorite to win the Heisman Trophy as a player who's proven nothing seems a bit odd.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it was dumb. It was malpractice. But yeah, Sayin had a great day. He's, someone said earlier, like, there's no dominant team in college football yet. And that might be true, but like Ohio State looks pretty dominant to me. And, you beat Texas. It wasn't a high scoring game, sure, but their defense looked like incredibly stout. Nobody wants to play Ohio State's defense right now. I don't care. Whoever's in here from whatever fan base, they can talk whatever smack they want, but they know they don't want to play that defense. And if that offense gets cooking, Ohio State's definitely looking like the number 1 team again. They could run it back to back. Oregon looked, really impressive as well. Like, yeah, Oklahoma State's not what they used to be, but that's still a better win than almost all these other teams putting up 70 against like FCS and like bottom of the barrel FBS teams. So
sure.
Oregon's looking kind of scary. If they get the ball rolling again, So there's a couple teams out there. I think Miami's looking pretty strong because, I wasn't able to call in after that game because I was on vacation last week, but they basically pushed Notre Dame around on both sides of the ball. Now, there's some things that Notre Dame can do to fix their line play. First of all, Eli Raridan is a terrible blocking tight end. At least in that game, he was lead blocker on quite a few occasions where the guy just came in untouched and got the tackle. They need a lot of work with him if he's going to be the starting tight end. Plus, Emil Wagner was getting cooked going up against Ruben Bain all night. He was having problems with Abdul Carter in the playoffs last year. So they got to figure something out there. Wish Charles Jagasaw wasn't hurt again, but I don't believe that the line is going to I still think that they're a good offensive line, but I think I called in earlier this year where, there was people, especially in the Notre Dame media, saying, "Oh, Notre Dame's got the best offensive line in the country." I'm like, pump the brakes here. It's they might have a top 5, maybe, but they didn't play like it against Miami. So I'm kind of weird. A lot of people overreact with their teams, week to week. I don't feel terrible about Notre Dame because I know that they can play better on the line. And there were some mistakes that are not necessarily physical mistakes. They're more gap assignment mistakes that they can clean up. And also CJ Carr looked pretty great for for his first ever collegiate start in a hostile environment in that horrible weather while it was raining. I thought both him and Carson Beck looked good. And shout out to CJ Daniels for Miami, by the way. He put on a show again in today's game with some crazy catches.
Oh, okay.
So that guy, he's going to be a stud. Watch out for CJ Daniels with that one-handed grab against Notre Dame last week and some of the grabs he was making this week. Him and Carson Beck have a real chemistry, and that I'm telling you, Miami's going to be tough. They're going to be a tough out this year. I think they're a playoff team for sure.
Okay. So CJ Daniels was back at it tonight, huh?
Oh, yeah. He had a couple amazing catches.
Wow.
So he and Carson Beck have a chemistry already. It's crazy. So, yeah, you got to watch out for that. And I think Miami does have a little bit of a tough schedule now because I think they got to play USF, Florida, and then Florida State back to back to back. And all three of those teams, well, Florida lost today, but they're still going to be a tough out. But USF and Florida State are looking pretty tough too. So that should be interesting to watch those games.
Yeah, it's an interesting season now that we've got a 12-team playoff, and there are some just different teams to look out for. Illinois is going to be somebody we need to look out for. They were able to play a really good second half against Duke. I enjoyed that game. It was a much better game than what the final score would indicate. Vandy went to Virginia Tech and put up the last 34 points on Virginia Tech to go away running in that game. So, yeah, there's just a few different teams. Maybe Florida State, after what we saw last week, it'll be interesting now to see their next quality opponent, which we would think would be Miami. And now USF kind of throws an interesting monkey wrench possibly into this whole Florida dynamic now that they've beaten the Gators and they've got Miami coming up. Could you imagine if South Florida beat both of them?
That would be insane. I don't think it's going to happen, but props to South Florida if they can pull it off.
Yeah.
But
sure.
I just want to shout out somebody in chat, Canoe MC, saying Notre Dame is not good. They are good. It's a matter of how good are they. I believe they're probably still a top 10 team if they can put it together. They did play Miami on the road in a tough environment, horrible weather, first-time starter freshman quarterback. They lost by 3 points and they lost the turnover battle by 2. So it could have been a lot worse. But anyways,
Rob, a lot of people like to play this game early in the season. Once there's a lot of hype surrounding, let's say, Clemson, but LSU beats Clemson, and then people get behind Clemson or LSU and say, look at LSU, look at what they did. And then people are like, well, Clemson's really not that good. We thought they were good, but they're obviously not that good. So that's really not that good of a win. And you can talk down any win at this point in the season because, well, who have they played? Well, they only played that one game and they lost. Is Texas any good? Well, they only played. How good is Ohio State? They only beat Texas 14-7. Is Texas really that good? Maybe they were overrated. And you kind of play this game at this point until there are 2 and 3 quality opponents on somebody's schedule to say, okay, well, Notre Dame played Miami down to the wire, and then they beat Texas A&M, then they beat somebody else decent. Okay. Although I think both of us are pretty confident that that Notre Dame's a good football team. You know, I had somebody challenging me on Ohio State saying, well, Texas is overrated, and Arch Manning just threw that game at Ohio State and gave it away. And I told him, I said, if you reasonably look at the way college football programs have played over the last few years, I know that Ohio State has a lot of youth on their team, and I'm not saying that Ohio State's the best team in the country, but I think that they are the most confident given that there is in college football right now. Like if Ohio State's not good this year, then I think we would all be surprised. Like
Right.
I think they're about the biggest given currently in college football.
Yeah. So the 2 teams that were in the championship last year with a lot of returning talent just are no good, Mark. They're just trash. Texas was overrated, so that means our Ohio State clearly isn't any good, even though they just, it's silly. Like when you look at Ohio State, Alabama, like I was arguing for Alabama. I'm not an Alabama fan, but I was arguing earlier in the chat. Like I think Alabama still can put it together and have a good season. Like they kind of ran into a buzzsaw against Florida State, probably underestimated them. Good teams can underestimate opponents that they don't think are going to be good, and then get smacked in the face and not really know what to do. Plus, Gus Malzahn has a history of owning Alabama. So I think that Alabama can put this together and still have a good year. I don't know that it's going to happen. I don't know that Notre Dame's going to have a good year. I don't know if Ohio State's going to have. I mean, we don't know anything. It's week 2, so people love to overreact, but I just hope we get better football in week 3. So
yeah,
that's all I'll say.
If you would have been with us last weekend, I'm sure you could have imagined what was being said about Alabama. There were all sorts of 4-8 type predictions for Alabama, and like you, I'm not saying that this Alabama team's going to put it together and be anything special this year, but Kalen DeBoer has proven that he knows what he's doing and that Alabama's got a loaded roster. Now, it may not be the right composition, and maybe Ty Simpson's not the right quarterback to play elite, but they're still going to really look good on occasion this year at the very minimum, and could put it together and be a factor this year. Yeah, I don't mail it in with any team on one performance.
Right. Yeah, I don't necessarily think Alabama is going to be in the playoffs, but I do think they're going to be a lot harder to beat than what some people are already just completely giving up and saying, oh, they're going to go like 8-4, 7-5, 6, whatever, and fire Kalen DeBoer right now. He's trash. And I mean, yeah, that could be the case. I mean, maybe that will happen, but we'll have to wait and see. So anyway, I'm going to get off, Mark, and if you got any more callers, but if not, I'll see you later.
Thanks, Rob. Appreciate it. We do have one more caller, but we're going to get to this super chat contribution coming in from Ryan. So we appreciate Ryan jumping on board. Even though Wisconsin won today, they beat Middle Tennessee State, I believe, 42-10. I did not see one play of that game. I was not impressed. Fans were chanting "Fire Fickle" after the first quarter. Wisconsin better not play like they did in the first 2 games, or it'll be a long season. Yeah, you check out that Wisconsin schedule. My goodness, it is serious. When you put Alabama as the 3rd non-conference game, now fortunately they're 2-0, so they got 2 wins banked as expected. But you got Alabama sitting right in front of the Big Ten schedule, which is arguably, but rated by most people, including myself when I went through all the Big Ten schedules, the most difficult Big Ten schedule. And you got Alabama in front of those 9. Wow. It may not be pretty. All right. We got Muley on the line. Muley, what's going on here? Hello, sir. Going once, going twice. Hello, hello. All right. I guess we don't. We show up every night, meaning Monday through Saturday. So we turn it over to the ladies on Sunday. So the ladies of college football come your way every Sunday night at 9 p.m. Eastern time. Otherwise, it's me at 10 p.m. Eastern time or after college football. I know that there are still some games out there, including Hawaii taking on, I forget who, Colorado State. They come to mind. Sam Houston. Hawaii and Sam Houston are playing right now, and I believe BYU and Stanford are probably still playing. Let's check out the scoreboard before we hang it up here. All right, so still in action. Quite a few games, actually. I shied away from taking BYU to cover 21 points against Stanford. I just stayed away from that game and did not predict it at all. All my predictions are in for the day, 9-7 against the spread, and I went, including all the blowout games, let's see. In those 16 games that I picked against the spread and went 9-7, that's 24-14 this season against the spread. I went 1-0, 2-0, 3-0, 4-0, 4-1, 4-2, 4-3, 5-3, 5-4, 6-4, 7-4, 8-4, 9-4, 10-4, 11-4. 12-4, 12-4 straight up. And then if you tack in all the blowout games, Ohio State, Alabama, Georgia, Florida State, Miami, Texas Tech, all those teams that played nobody, then tack on about 10 more wins to that. Those are all gimmies, obviously. Did any of them even play a close game? Maybe the closest game would have been the Texas A&M game against Utah State. All right. Decent performance. Actually, most people would take 9-7. That's over 56%. Still in progress. Near the end of the first half, Arizona leads Weber State 27-0. Washington State is on top of San Diego State 29-13. Stanford's just a bad football team. There's 90 seconds left in this game, and Stanford's going to drop to 0-2. BYU's up 27-3. There we've got Washington leading UC Davis 49-10. That's near the end of the third quarter. You can catch that on the Big Ten Network. And Hawaii leads Sam Houston 14-3. Sam Houston has the ball 4th and 7 at the Hawaii 11. I would think that they are going to be kicking a field goal. There you have it. We will see you all back here for me personally on Monday night at 10 p.m. Eastern time. We got some great guests lined up for next week. And then also keep in mind the ladies of college football coming up on Sunday night. Muley, you're on the line. We tried to connect with you. I took your call a couple times, but didn't show up. So I see Muley dropped off the line. I just don't want him to be offended thinking that I did not take his call. So, all right, folks. Great to be here with all of you. Week 2's in the books. We will start to preview week 3 starting on Sunday. And my top 25 that actually makes sense will be out in the morning.